Late. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Welcome everybody. We're getting started with the LT Senior Services Seminar for June. Whoop, whoop. We're so happy to have you all here today. And LT Senior Services is a nonprofit, and our goal is to help older adults as they navigate through aging. And families too. And one of the things that we do is this webinar seminar. We actually have, we have 54 people who are signed up online to watch today. So we still have a really big online presence. We have people from all over who hop on, people from San Diego and different places like that. So welcome everybody from across the world. We have a great audience here too, and we're super excited to have y'all. So we are whole goal is to help older adults in the Lake Travis area. So because of that, we do a whole bunch of events for Lake Travis seniors. So we have a super fun lineup for the remainder of the year. Our homecoming celebration. So we think it'll be free, we have lunch. Then we have a whole bunch of additional seminars, and then we end the year at the Lakeway Trail of Lights. So we did this last year, and what we do is we meet before the trail of lights, and we have some food and hot chocolate. We didn't have alcohol, but so we could bring a little glass. And then we go and we walk the lights, and we go on a night that's not busy. So we don't have to worry about a whole bunch of people kind of pushing us and saying, go faster or whatever.
Yeah.
We just strolled, we took our time, it was super fun. So that is our remaining events for 2023. So we have members of LT Senior Services, and we have a member directory. We have over 40 members, and those members help us to fund our different events. And so Morgan, come on up. She is one of our biggest supporters. Morgan is from the library, and I didn't have my.
Good morning. Good morning. So the trick with the microphone is you really have to shove it right up in your mouth awkwardly. So I'm going to encourage all of us to do that because I know we can all hear better. So I'm Morgan from the library. I usually try to push technology help or home delivery service or some of our programs like free live music every Friday. But instead today, I'm going to push our summer reading program. It's for adults as well. If you read 5 books this summer or listen to 5 books, come tell us about it. You get a punch on your punch card every time you read a book, and then you get a coupon for a free book from the bookstore. We're all book nerds. This is perfect, right? So thank you. Come ask me afterwards if you want to know anything more about the library.
Thank you, Morgan. That whole time I was not using a mic. Hopefully people heard at home. If not, I'm sorry. Everybody heard here. Okay, come on up. We're going to have you introduce yourself. You've got 30 seconds and we're going to do it really fast.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Estella Hilton. I'm with Brookdale Senior Living. We have 2 locations here in Lakeway. I represent the Brookdale Loman's Crossing right next to the Lakeway Church, and we also have one across the street. We have assisted living, memory care, and in other locations, independent living. But if you have any questions on that, please give me a call, 512-567-1884. Thank you.
All right. I always put them on the spot. They're never quite ready to come up and talk. I guess I should introduce myself, huh? Yeah, so my name is Cindy Cummings and I am a local realtor. I'm one of the founders of LT Senior Services. We had a whole bunch of people though who were involved, so.
Hi, I'm Sahiba and I am a professional organizer. If you have seen the brochure, I own Declutter Beat. I am not presenting next month. It is very amazing people, 2 women who are presenting next month. But I also help people declutter and organize so that their anxiety comes down due to the anxiety which happens due to a lot of clutter around us. I am also like the one-stop knowledge center for everything, where things go, what do you do with your stuff, and how to take care of things. So I am Sahiba. I am a professional organizer and owner of Declutter.
Hello, my name is Laura Dutton and I work at Longleaf Bee Cave by the Discount Park. We're memory care and assisted living. And I did want you to know that we do have, we call it respite care. So if somebody wants to come and stay with us for 2 weeks, a month, we can do that. I know that's kind of a hot thing to find. And this is your, I have to show you how to open it. Can you open it?
I can unscrew it. You have to do that to get to the.
It's kind of hard and I'm a little difficult challenger, so I was gonna demo it, but it's a great, and I'm.
What is it? What is it?
Okay, I don't have time. It's hand sanitizer.
Inside.
But I think that the marketing department needs a new vendor for it.
I thought it was a little
Awkward to open.
get unscrewed.
So you kind of like turn it and pull it. So that's what I wanted to show you.
And then it sprays.
Yeah, and then it sprays. Lovely.
Thank you, Carol Merrill.
Yeah, and then I want you guys to know, Carol, that, I was reading a depressing article that in the heat, people get colds, summer cold more often. So I thought I might play with this. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then another thing I wanted to thank, Hayley for speaking today, because I had a fall. And I was walking and I tripped. Oh, you guys, I don't know what happened, but I fell on the cement. I face planted. It was horrible. I think I saw a little PTSD from it. So I'm really glad that she's speaking so I can learn too. So thank you, everybody.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm happy to pass you around. And thank you, Cindy.
just raise your hand if you want one. She's gonna walk down the aisles. Wasn't here when you all first came in. Okay, I think we have introduced all of our members and now it's time for me to introduce our speaker. And our speaker today is Hayley and she's a mobile physical therapist. How fun is that? You don't have to get in the car. I love that. Her background is an outpatient clinic working with people who have pain and trying to get them back to pain-free activity. She's a board certified orthopedic specialist, which means she specializes in working with patients with orthopedic conditions. She's originally from Lake Jackson, Texas, and she currently lives in Austin with her kids, 2 kids, husband, and her dog. So without further ado, here is Hayley.
Thank you for that nice introduction. So as she mentioned, we are going to talk about fall prevention and assistive devices today. But to give just a little more intro, as she said, I'm a physical therapist with an orthopedic background. I am from Lake Jackson. It's an hour south of Houston. And for undergrad, I went to the University of Texas. I know y'all were talking about representing your colleges here in a couple weeks. And I met my husband there, and he's from Lake Jackson too. We didn't know each other. He was a couple years older, but we met through some mutual friends at UT that both went to our high school. I started my business at PT during the pandemic, and that's why the word telehealth is in there. So I do have a platform to do video telehealth visits. However, right now I mostly do mobile visits. I am a wife and a mom. These are my 2 kids who came out looking just like my husband. despite me carrying them for 9 months. Um, but they are 4 and 7. And we're very active. We like to go camping. We have an RV. So we try to go every 6 weeks because we're paying for storage, so we might as well. And this is our latest trip we took to Inks Lake. And then this is a picture of my husband and I in Costa Rica last year for our 10-year wedding anniversary. Yes, Costa Rica.
Day after tomorrow.
You'll have a great time. It's awesome. So she said she's going to Costa Rica, everyone on the internet. And also on the internet, you can't see this picture of my children, but just imagine they look like him only. Okay. All right. So we like to hike. I play soccer. My husband likes to bike. And then I'm a really bad cook. So sometimes people ask me what my diet is, and I just say I don't really like the food I cook. So maybe that helps control things. I don't know. Anyhow, he'll cook, so we can survive. Okay. All right, so back to what we are going to talk about today. We're going to talk about falls. What is the problem? Do we even know anyone who falls? We do. We saw one today. So it is a problem. But how big of a problem is it? The cause of falls, why are we falling? And then what are some things we can do to not fall? And including those things, we'll also talk about assistive devices, which can help prevent you from falling. And we'll talk about how to fit them properly to yourself and how to use them. And if you guys have any questions in the middle of this, please feel free to ask. All right. Any questions so far? Okay, the problem. So over a third of people over the age of 65 will have a fall. So I don't know how many people you know that are 65 and older, but if you think about your friends that are 65 and older, 1 in 3 of you will fall. And the people who fall, 20 to 30% of them will have more moderate to severe injuries, such as hip fractures or head trauma, or bruises, probably like more significant bruises that take weeks and weeks to heal and can limit your mobility. Over 800,000 patients a year are hospitalized because of a fall injury, because of the head injuries or the hip fractures. And the falls are the most common cause of a traumatic brain injury. A traumatic brain injury is when you hit your head and you have damage to your brain. And depending on where you hit your head may depend on what the damage is. And then depending on how hard you fall may determine whether it's a lasting deficit that you're going to have or whether it's just going to go away in a few weeks. And this is all from the CDC website. Okay, so causes of falls. I'm going to talk about this slide for a little while. So environment. There's lots of different things in your environment. It could be that it's dark outside. Oh, I wanted to tell y'all a story about my grandma. When I was in physical therapy school, I lived with my grandma for one of my rotations. My rotation was in Denver, Colorado. We had to do one out-of-state rotation just to see a more varied treatment approach, maybe how they do things in other states. While I was living with her, at a spry age of 88, she would run through the house to get to the phone before it stopped ringing. Her phone only rang 3 times. So she's running through the house. She has lots of those hallway rugs. And I thought, it is my duty to prevent a fall here. I'm in physical therapy school. I know what to do. I had already talked to her about her rugs, but she wanted to keep them. And so I figured out how to get her phone to ring more times so that she could have more time to get to the phone without running. And I actually had to call the phone company to do that. It wasn't a feature on the phone itself. So I told them to let her phone ring as long as possible. And so that was 8 rings. And so I stopped her from running through the house after that. So there's different things that you may not think about that can contribute to you wanting to rush and cause a fall. You could also, like I mentioned, rugs or some sort of sense of urgency, even if you're having some incontinence issues. You know, you get out of bed at night, it's dark, you might stumble going to the bathroom. So sometimes it's a good idea to have a cane just for those situations, just to be extra safe. Also sleep, right? So you're half asleep, you're more likely to fall. And also, yeah, it's just good to get a good night's rest anyhow, so that you're more alert, your reaction time is good, you can respond to any sort of obstacles that come into play. Let's see, oh, animals. Who has dogs and cats? Yes, me too. And they can be a fall risk as well. I know we used to have a dog that whenever I would cook my horrible food would lay right behind my heels to where I couldn't even feel her. So when I would step back, she would trip me. So if you have an animal, just be aware of where they are, or put them in a separate room while you're, you know, maybe in the kitchen or doing something where you're going back and forth a lot. Let's see. Anyone think of anything else? Good, pretty good. Okay.
Boards.
Boards, yeah, right. So if you have a lot of clutter, clutter can be a fall risk. Cords, if you have furniture spaced too close together and you're trying to move around it, that can be a cause as well. Let's see. All right, so now I'm going to move on to medical conditions. So it's very important to go to the doctor and make sure that all of your medical conditions are being addressed and managed. For example, if you have diabetes, about 1/3 of people with diabetes will develop diabetes neuropathy, which means you'll develop numbness in your feet, usually your feet tingling. It makes it hard to walk when you can't feel where the ground is. So it's important to be managing your diabetes as the doctor prescribes whatever treatment for you or diet changes. Other medical conditions could be things that cause you to be dizzy, even allergies. There's something called BPPV, which is where the little crystals in your semicircular canals get out of whack. And when you first get up in the morning, you may have dizziness, and that could cause you to fall. Let's see. Trying to think, yeah. And then on the sleep side too, maybe you have anxiety, so you're not getting sleep. And so that could cause a fall. And then medications, there's, yes.
Excuse me, on the crystal in the ear, what you call this BB?
So she's asking what the crystals are, what the condition is called, where the crystal in the ear get out of place, and it's called B like boy, P like Peter, P like Peter, V. It's V like
V.
Victor,
Okay, Victor.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. It's benign, paroxysmal, positional vertigo.
Oh, okay.
So you just have a little bit of dizziness for maybe a few seconds to a minute when your head changes positions. And there's an easy fix for that, by the way. All right, and then the last thing on this slide is medications. There's research that shows that if you're taking more than 4 4 prescription medications, that you're at higher risk of falling. So make sure that your doctor is reviewing your medications, make sure that all the ones you're taking are still necessary for you. Let's see. Okay. Oh, and there's a common one as you get older, it's called orthostatic hypotension, which is where you get up too fast and your blood takes a little longer to come up and reach your head. So you get a little bit of lightheadedness from that. So if you have that, it's important to stand, wait a few seconds for it to pass before you start walking. Okay. All right. Any questions on those? Yes.
You mentioned that there's easy fix for vertigo. What are they?
Well, for the BPPV, there's an easy fix. It's just a simple, like, it's not a simple head maneuver, but it's this head maneuver where you basically reposition the crystals in the semicircular canals. I want to say it's like only 1 or 2% of people who have vertigo that is the cause. So you would need an evaluation to determine what your dizziness is from. So, let's see. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Okay, more causes of falls. Lots of range of motion. So for example, maybe you just had a shoulder surgery and your arm is in a sling, so you're not moving your arm like this. Whenever you're walking and you're swinging your opposite arm with the opposite leg as it moves, that's actually keeping you balanced. So if you have your arm in a sling, that can throw you off balance. Or say you had a knee replacement surgery. All my examples are orthopedic. So anyway, this is my background. So you had a knee replacement surgery and maybe you never got your knee fully straight. So this leg is bent and you're walking like this. So it kind of throws you off to the right and off balance. Another thing is loss of balance can cause falls. So what was this one I was thinking of in the car? I mean, obviously, if you're, maybe standing on an uneven surface, so now you're like tilted, that can cause you to fall. And then muscle weakness. So for example, if you're living a very sedentary life and all of a sudden your grandchild is graduating from college and now you've got to drive to the university, you've got to walk through the parking lot, you've got to go up and down stairs and bleachers, and then you got to sit and then get back down whenever the ceremony is over. You're probably going to be a lot weaker if, say, you've been sedentary for a year and you've only gone to doctor's appointments and the grocery store, and then you go and do some big activity like this. So it's really important to stay active frequently, several times a week. I would recommend doing some sort of like 30-minute exercise program. Maybe 3 times a week is a good amount to stay active and strong. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that on the prevention side. Okay, and then prior falls. So once you have a fall, you're at more risk of having a fall again. And some of this has to do with your balance confidence. They've done research that shows that if you don't have a lot of confidence in your balance, then you're more likely to fall. And some of that has to do with if you're afraid of falling, you're less likely to take chances or to be as active because you're afraid of falling. So then that's going to cause more weakness, which at the last bullet point we talked about can cause you to fall. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. Good. Okay, so prevention. Look at this pretty house. That's not what my house looks like. Add some toys and a dog and a bed, dog bed. Wear flat, secure shoes on your feet. That's one thing that can help keep you more steady. So if you're wearing flip-flops, they can sometimes get away from you. Get rid of rugs. Have good lighting in the home and clear pathways, kind of like we talked about, not having a lot of clutter. And you have to balance this out with what makes you happy a little bit too. Maybe this is like a rug from your great grandmother and you love it and it reminds you of your childhood. It's not an end all be all rule. So just take into account what your risk is, how much you think that rug is going to possibly cause you to fall and how much you like it, and kind of do a little risk benefit assessment for yourself.
Hang it on the wall.
Hang it on the wall. That'd be a great idea. Perfect. That's what, yeah. So with the dog thing, I was thinking, well, I don't think anyone's gonna wanna get rid of their dog, so the good option is to just put the dog in a different room when you're doing a more risky activity that they could potentially knock you over doing. Let's see, good lighting, good pathways. There's other things too. If you need, depending on your level, you can have handrails up in the shower chairs. There's a whole range of assistance that you can have in your home. And then we talked about the medications and the medical conditions. So just make sure you go to the doctor regularly and they review your medications. And then use the appropriate assistive device. So as a physical therapist, if I see a patient walk into my clinic or I walk in and I see they're walking away from the door when I'm walking into their house, and it gives me this like gut reaction, like, oh no, I feel like they need some extra assistance. I just have this like gut feeling after watching so many people move after all time that I will tell you, I think you need a cane, or I think you need, but I won't tell you right away. We'll do the formal tests. There are tests that you can do that will tell you what your risk of falling is. There's like mild, moderate, and severe. For example, if you cannot stand on one leg for more than 5 seconds, you're at a higher risk of falling. So one thing that you can do is practice that, but in a safe environment. Everyone's at different levels. For my patients, I recommend that they have a countertop in front of them and a chair behind them so that there's lots of support. If you even have another counter here, like a L-shaped countertop, that's even better because then you're covered on 3 sides. So things like that, staying active is great. You want to find something that you enjoy so that you stick to it. You can do like Tai Chi or yoga. They have yoga with chair yoga. If you're feeling uncomfortable, there's lots of videos online. Although I would recommend maybe getting with a friend so that it can kind of be a social thing and you keep each other accountable. And then know too that if you choose one activity, you don't have to stay with it forever. You can always change into something totally different. So just keep it fun. One of the things I sometimes will go to a body pump class. And then I get tired of it sometimes. And so then I'll just do my own workout at the gym. Or like I said, I do soccer, but my husband bikes, but I don't like biking at all. I don't like swimming at all. I've heard that people who like to run don't like to swim and vice versa. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but okay. And then, okay, any questions about prevention before we go on to assistive devices? Yes.
Do you recommend any foot exercises to strengthen the ankles and feet to avoid, dizziness and falls?
Well, I will say the standing on one leg is a good strengthening exercise. A lot of people as they get older lose calf strength too. So I do some heel raises would be a good one. And that one also gets the arches of your foot. So yeah.
Thank you.
And she was asking good foot exercises to the people online. Yes.
Also, if you don't have to swim, if you get in the water and walk, the water has a resistance to it. And that's good balance.
Yes, so she said that getting in the water and walking is good exercise also because there's the resistance of the water, which yes, sometimes too, if you have pain with a lot of walking, you can do it in the pool and strengthen up your muscles for then whenever you get out of the pool. But yeah, I like the water. It's very good, very nice on your joints and everything like that. And I'll have people walk forward when they're walking in the pool, walk backwards, and then do like side stepping. So you're working all the sides of the hips. Okay.
So if you don't have to eat the water, you do regular walks. Really? Oh, occasionally you have to walk backwards as well, or just fine.
Right, so the question is, if you're walking outside, should you walk backwards
Occasionally.
occasionally? I don't usually recommend that. I feel like there's a safety issue involved. Sometimes I'll have people walk backwards on a treadmill. So you could do that. There's other exercises too you can do to get the backside. Like you could do a bridge, which is where you lay on your back with your knees bent and then you lift your bottom up. And that would kind of work the same muscles. So.
You're facing the floor.
No, face up, knees bent,
These then,
yeah,
and,
this,
uh-huh,
both knees bent, and then you're like, lifting your bottom up off the ground. Like if you're laying in bed and you're trying to like scoot, you know, you kind of lift your bottom up. Mhm, yeah. Anything else? Yes, okay. So assistive devices, woohoo, everybody likes assistive devices, just kidding. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about like the different kinds that there are and kind of what you would use them for and then how to adjust them, okay? So first there are canes, there's lots of different kinds of canes. There is there's a couple. There is the single tip cane, which I have brought an example right here. And this one up here is a single tip cane also. It just has a little wider base because sometimes they market that if you put the cane down like this, if you have a little wider base, it'll stay. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But a lot of people do find the frustration with canes is that they fall on the ground all the time and you're having to pick them up. So that is a nice option, but they're not 100%. And then, so these are if you just need a little bit of help, you know, like I talked about, maybe you don't really need anything, but in the middle of the night when you're trying to go to the bathroom, you want to have just a little something. This is the least amount of support that you can have. And then there's this quad cane, which in most cases I'm not a big fan of. It is a little bulky. I feel like people tend to trip over them because they're heavy and they kind of drag. A person that I would have use this is somebody who walks really slowly and has the strength like lift it up each time. People who walk too fast tend to drag it, and then that's when it gets caught on the ground and can cause them to trip. I drew this little graphic here. This is like, if you're looking at the bottom of the quad cane because there's 4 little legs. One side is more shallow as far as how much the prongs stick out, and one side sticks out a little more. You want to have the side that's more shallow next to you. So say you're right here, because that's going to keep you from tripping over it. And there's a way you can flip this around so that if you want to use it in your left hand or your right hand, there's a little O-ring here that if you loosen it, then you can swivel it around this way and then tighten it again, okay?
So you want the shallow side.
Closer to you.
Close to the top side of your problem.
So that is that's something that we will get into actually. So she's asking kind of what side you use a cane on. So I'll go ahead and ask it since you're asking. No, so in general, you will use the cane on the stronger side. So if you have a strong leg, you're going to use the cane on the strong side, which is contrary to a lot of movies and TV series. And everyone wants to question us on this. But so say my right leg here is my strong leg. You're going to take your weaker side and it's going to move forward with the cane so you can put your weight through and then walk through with the good side. Okay, so that is how you walk with a cane. Now, if you don't really have a strong or weak side, you kind of are about the same on both sides. You can just use it in the hand that's your dominant hand if you want, so. In almost every case, you're gonna have the cane on the strong side. And there is research also that has shown, they've looked at pressure through the hip. And the hip that is closer to your cane or crutch gets more weight through it. They've done the research.
So is that related to the height of the handle?
So the height, we're gonna do, I'll wait on that question.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about how to fit the cane to you also in a minute. Okay, so crutches, I'm gonna fly through this one a little bit unless you guys have questions, but the crutches, you're going to have axillary crutches, which means they go into your armpit. And then you're gonna have these lock strand crutches, which are forearm crutches. In America, I don't know why, America uses this type of crutch for a more long-term situation, like an amputation or somebody who might have cerebral palsy, who has pretty good balance overall. But then they use these axillary crutches for a more temporary condition like an ankle fracture or something like this, okay? But this is a little more supportive than one cane, is to have two axillary crutches, but you do need to have pretty good balance for these. Okay, so then to walkers, there's lots of walkers, and these are more supportive than the crutches and the cane. So you've got this one I don't ever see, but I thought it would be neat for y'all to see. I think I've only ever seen one of these, but it's just a 3-wheeled walker. They are a little tricky because they turn really fast, but if you say had a really small apartment and you needed to get through tight spaces, that might be a good option for you. This one here is the one most people have, is a 2-wheel walker, where there's 2 wheels in the front and no wheels in the back. And then you've got the 4-wheel walker, and this one's pretty common also. The ones with wheels are tricky because they can get fast on you. So like going down a hill can be tricky. You've got to actually have pretty good balance for the 4-wheeled one and the 3-wheeled one. They do have brakes right here. So say you are going downhill, you can squeeze on those so that it doesn't get away from you. You can also say if you get tired and you want to take a seat, these are really nice. Like if you have some endurance issues, to lock it more permanently so you don't have to squeeze, you will lock this down. You actually push the lever down and it locks it. So then you can turn around and sit in it. This is also nice too because it has a built-in basket. People don't really like crutches or canes because they take away your hands. You can't really hold things very well. So the basket's nice. And then these two are more for like neurological issues, like if you've had a stroke. So this one's called a hemi walker. So this would be a person who they had a stroke that affected their right side. So they're still strong like normal on the left side, but they're having to put a lot of weight through. So it's got a really wide base there where the legs are. And then they just walk with it like you do the cane, where the crutch goes, the hemi walker goes with the strong leg. I'm sorry, with the weak leg. And then the strong leg follows. All right, and then this one is if your arm is too weak or something to push from this part, but you have a little more strength pushing this way, or maybe you have like some left shoulder, some sort of problem like that, and you need shoulder support, this is a good way to just push the walker if you have trouble with your arm. Okay, any questions about the walkers? No, okay. Okay, so how to fit the crutches. So, let's see, remember. Okay, so there's a twist ring I mentioned with the quad cane. The canes have it too, the regular canes here at the bottom. right here. So what you'll do to adjust your cane is you will untwist the ring. And then there are push pins. So like right here, push pin, and there's lots of different levels where the holes are. Okay, and so you'll push the pin in. And then kind of twist, and then you can move it up or down. Okay. Okay, and then once you have it where you want it, you'll retighten the ring at the bottom, all right? The walkers work the same way, you just flip them upside down, and then you loosen the ring and then do the push pins. The four-wheel walker, actually will adjust a little bit different. It'll adjust right here. There's a little, sometimes they're in different kind of screwing mechanisms, but some will twist and then you can just slide the arm up and down. They're not usually marked in any way, so you just kind of have to guesstimate if they're the same height, okay? Now, speaking of height, how high does your crutch need to be? 20 degrees. You guys have your, what, compass or protractor from school? No? Okay. So the other way that we can measure that is you will stand with your arm right next to your side in whatever shoes you normally wear. And then you're going to put the cane next to you. This part where your hand is going to go should hit at your wrist crease. So where your wrist bends, that is where it should go. So like this one is too high for me. Okay, so then I will adjust it. I'm not gonna do the ring yet until I'm certain, okay? So that's probably pretty close. So now I'll do the ring. So then when I hold it, my elbow's just like a little slight bend, probably pretty close to 20 degrees, okay? It just gives you more control at that angle. If it's like totally straight and doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room to adjust to the environment, if it's too high, that's just not a good angle for your bicep to work either. All right, any questions about the fitting, wrist crease? Okay, good. All right, and then the crutches, you can also adjust the handle, you'll adjust the bottom so that when the pads are under your arms, there are 2 or 3 fingers below your armpit is where that pad, the top of the pad is going to hit. You don't want it touching the top of your armpit because it can rub a lot and cause some nerve irritation and skin irritation. Then you can adjust the handle part. So since this handle is just like when you use a cane handle, you're going to want that at the same height too, right at that wrist crease. So the way to adjust this is to twist this butterfly screw out, and then there's another screw that's going straight through the middle of that pad, and you'll pull it out, and then you can adjust up or down whatever you need, okay? Let's see. Okay, and then just like we talked about for one crutch or cane, you will hold it in the arm of your strong leg, okay? Unless you just had a shoulder surgery, you don't want to use your cane in that arm, probably, okay? All right. You guys have any questions about this? Okay. Well, are any of you guys using assistive devices or not really? Okay. Okay, and then wheelchairs. So a wheelchair is another level of assistance. So this is your standard wheelchair. It's a manual wheelchair. It has big wheels. So the person that's sitting in it can use their arms to help them go around. They're kind of heavy though, so sometimes if someone only needs a wheelchair for a temporary situation, you might consider a transport wheelchair. So if you look, it's just got 4 tiny wheels, and this one is this is a lighter option, and it's meant for somebody else to push you. So again, there's brakes right here on the handles. The person that's sitting here, they might help you with their legs, but they are not gonna be able to help you with their arms because the wheels are stronger, so, or smaller, sorry. People in a standard wheelchair too can use their feet and their arms, just depending on what's wrong with the person that needs this type of wheelchair. And then finally, your electric wheelchair, which gives you the max assistance. It has a toggle switch. You can go forward, back, just like driving a little car, okay? You just gotta be careful not to run into things. Yes,
In general,
uh-huh.
I know different brand difference. In general, how much does electrical wheelchair cost general?
I actually have no idea because in my orthopedic world, we don't use them a lot, yeah.
Oh,
But I would imagine the insurance would help pay for one of those if that was something that you needed for your condition.
see,
Yeah,
okay.
So.
Thank you.
and then with that being said, if you get scared of falling, don't jump right into a wheelchair. You want to use the least assistance that you can get by with safely. Oh, and the other thing is these fold up, so you can like pull up from the middle of the fabric and they squish together, so they can fit in the car a little easier. Sometimes in the back seat, sliding it between the seat and the front seat. Okay, so here's the fun part. You can snazz up your walkers if you want to, or your canes. I know for canes, they have all different kinds of colors. I saw on Amazon. There are skis that you can put on your walker or tennis balls. The tennis balls are a little more grippy and can hang up on stuff, but if you live in a house where you've got really slick floor, that might be better for you to have a little more grip. The skis, they're slippery, but they could get caught on carpet. You just have to kind of see what your situation most needs, but either one is a fine option. I would say though, don't cut tennis balls yourself because you can hurt yourself. They sell them pre-cut online, so you don't have to do it yourself. And then there are bags. There's bags for crutches. There's bags for walkers. Be careful with the bags though, because they can weight your walker down and flip them. So don't put too much stuff in them. And you don't want them to be too long either. Sometimes people have long ones and they might get in the way of where your feet are walking.
Do you measure this and also use the crystal for the handle part?
Yes, same thing with the walker. Yeah.
It looks like it's lower, but I guess I just cannot see very well.
Well, yeah, or they might not be focused on the correct mechanics. So they
Okay,
just
so
want to sell the
this
tennis
is
balls.
where you measure.
Yes, yeah. So then like for the walker, you flip it upside down. So then you have your
Yes.
push pin.
Very easy.
Yeah. And just make sure you make them all equal because you can make it a little lopsided. And then these I thought were really bizarre, but I just wanted to put them in here for fun. They make little skis that are like these little feet. They have like girl ones too, like that are more like heels. Anyway, so you can jazz up your walker however you want these days. Okay, so in general, falling is a big problem. Do what you can to not fall. Change your environment, go see the doctor. The assistive devices can help you improve your function, especially if you've had a fall and you're a little nervous and you're trying to get back into your normal things. You might use a cane for a little bit and then you might not use it anymore. So just because you use one doesn't mean it has to be forever. And then stay active and stay healthy, and that should help decrease a lot of the risks that you have. So does anyone have any questions? Yes.
What do you think about the ski pole things that you can walk with outside?
Oh, yeah. Like, they're kind of like hiking sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are fine. Yeah.
Again, the height.
Yeah, the walking sticks, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, there's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, they're right above
I
you.
almost feel like those are like, more like when you're getting fitted for ski poles, where when you are like this, you want the bottom of the handle to be here. So,
Yeah, and you hold up, you walk like this, it's not right over your, if you have Parkinson's and you're starting this, one of the early symptoms are you quit using your arms to swing and having these poles kind of make you do it.
yeah, that's good. So she's saying that with hiking poles, those can be good for people who are starting to have Parkinson's-like symptoms, because people with Parkinson's start to move, have smaller movements. So the hiking sticks can encourage those type of people to move their body bigger and more normal. Good.
I had some questions about your business.
Oh, sure.
So, we're used to physical therapy being done, you know, like in bricks and mortar, and you go in and you get therapy done. So when you go to the home, how does that work? Do you get a prescription from a doctor? And just tell us a little
Sure.
bit about that.
Okay, so she's asking about how my business works being mobile versus going to a clinic. And it still requires a doctor's referral for physical therapy. It would still be geared toward outpatient therapy. I just bring the clinic to you. So with my orthopedic certification in the state of Texas, I can see you for 3 weeks before you have a doctor's referral. So if you don't quite have it yet, we could probably start anyway. Because in 3 weeks, you can probably see the doctor in that time period. Or sometimes I'll send the first note off to the doctor, and then typically they'll sign it because they see all the information that I've provided. So that happens sometimes. And then as far as going into the home, I bring a massage table so I can do some of the hands-on techniques that you would get in a clinic also. And then I have a box on wheels that has like exercise bands and cones, and I have an agility ladder, rocker board. And then I even have like an arm bike that I'll bring inside, bike, if I feel like somebody needs it. So I have a bunch of equipment in the car, but I like to give you things that you can do in your home, because I feel like that's easier to do your exercises. It can be a transition to what you do at home anyway. Yeah, I can show you exactly where to do it and where to set it up because we're at your house.
Is it covered under Medicare?
Yeah, it's covered under Medicare. So for my business, I can see patients who have Medicare Part B that's traditional. And that is all. However, I'm doing contract work with another company that takes most insurances. So if I don't take you, then I can funnel you through this other company. It's called Luna Physical Therapy, and I can see you that way likely. So they take most.
It is traditional Medicare. Okay.
Yeah.
In other words, the people have the Medicare gap.
Yeah, so people in traditional Medicare usually will have a Medigap plan or like a supplemental plan that'll cover, so then it usually is all paid for if you have a supplemental plan. Yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm. Yeah. So, anything else?
I have a comment.
Sure.
You know, since I'm old, and it's summer, I'm wearing sandals,
Uh-huh.
and I made a mistake. Because I volunteered at the thrift shop, you know, and you do a lot of walking and helping people. And I helped somebody put some things in her car, and of course my sandals, and I wore sandals that day, which I don't ever do. And my sandal got caught in the pavement,
Oh,
and
no.
so I went head first.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
Luckily, I
no.
was lucky.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. So are you wearing those shoes? Did they have a back on them or no?
Yeah, it's the same with them wearing riding, it's got a, but it's.
Yeah, I know, you would think, yeah.
It's a good one.
I know, you would think those would be safe. So, for those people online, we have a lady here who said that she was wearing sandals while she was volunteering at a thrift shop, and she was helping somebody load their car, and her sandal got caught in the pavement, and she fell. And they're actually pretty good looking sandals. They've got a back strap and everything. So, yeah, sandals are just not quite as secure as tennis shoes. So I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah.
Your shoelaces.
A cautionary tale.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
We'll see you all next month. All right. Thank you so much.